Good evening and good morning for those who are in the US, and good evening for those who are in Europe. Today, we are super excited to host this webinar on data observability and the build versus buy. And we do have a special guest who is Mehdi from Carrefour, who is going to share with us his experience with the topic based on the projects they went through in the past when adopting data observability solution. We do also have as well today Wajdi, co-founder and CTO of Sifflet, to share more on his past experience when he was at the challenge and the need of data observability solution. And thanks for joining. I think maybe we can kick off the session with a round of introduction, and the floor is yours. Mehdi, you can start with you. I think you're on mute.
Is it, do you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, now it works.
Yeah, these are like some direct issues, but anyway, it's normal. So I'm very happy to be here. Thanks, Wissem, for the introduction, and very glad to meet and discuss with Wajdi, and also welcome to all the audience. Very excited to speak about this topic, actually, because this is something that's really, I would say, actual, and particularly for data products and data projects as the one that we're building at Carrefour Links. So for sure, this will be interesting.
Cool. Thanks, Mehdi. Wajdi, you want to go through a very quick introduction?
Sure. Very glad to be part of this panel. Thank you, Mehdi, for joining us. So quickly on myself, I'll probably be wearing the hat of a developer or a software engineer rather than a CTO or co-founder of Sifflet. And I'll be sharing my experience on building software. A quick background on me, I have a software engineering background with more than 15 years building software. So I've had many experiences building software, but also points in my career where I had to decide on buying, and I'll be happy to share more on that.
Cool. So the agenda for the day is going to be around mainly the, let's say, the build in-house solution, what kind of benefits and in what kind of scenarios this is an approach that makes sense, and what are the key considerations we should be thinking about when considering building in-house. And second part of the conversation, it will be around the buying approach. When it's relevant to have and rely on a third-party software, why we should be considering that and how we should proceed. And then you will keep some time at the end for Q&A. So please feel free to start asking any question you are having in mind. We'll make sure to have enough time at the end so that we can go through them and give you the expected answers. Now, maybe before jumping into the topic, and it's I'm super excited today to speaking about this, Mehdi, can you maybe walk us through the main data stack you are having at Carrefour Links and how you are, what kind of data technologies you are relying on?
Yeah, definitely. So to start with, actually, for the audience, I think it's important to understand what Carrefour Links is. Carrefour Links is actually our data monetization platform within the Carrefour Group. And its goal is to provide our industrial partners with data insights and metrics so that they can steer their performance. And then also have actionable insights. What I mean by this is that they can understand how the transactions or different point of sale are going on, how their products are being sold, what's the impact of some sales, also insights on the supply chain and so on. And this is really to give them competitive edge over competition. So Carrefour Links is I would say, technically speaking, as you see in this slide, it's data, essentially an ecosystem of data products with like data coming from different sources, then going into what we call a group data platform, group data lake, And within this group data lake, we're going to have a lot of transformation operation going through, like whether real time or asynchronous, and with heavily based on ELT paradigm, extract, load, and then transform. And then we build on top of this what we call a semantic layer. We use Looker, and so we use extensively LookML for this semantic layer in order to define the metrics and to define the dimensions. And then we build on top of this dashboards. And these dashboards are then embedded within web application that have also business logic and then are connected as well to our line of business application. And we grant access to our different customers to these web applications. So this is, I would say, a very quick overview of our technical architecture. Some key figures I would say to have in mind is that these data platforms, within it we have, I would say in terms of order of magnitude, we have tens of petabytes of data flowing each month. We have more than 80,000 view, I would say, user session on the different web applications. I would say in a term of 6 months, each 6 months. This is to give you an example. So we have real, I would say, challenging things about how to cope with this amount of data, how to make sure that the metrics that we are displaying and providing our customer with are correct, and how to provide them with a premium user experience so that they can navigate through all these metrics. And we have more than 300 metrics that we display to our customers. They can navigate through them. They can drill down, deep dive, and understand really what's happening in very different granularities. This can go from a zone like Europe to a particular point of sale in a particular town in the north of France, for instance.
And I guess this is how data observability came in the picture, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a real, I would say, a really interesting question, because the story of Carrefour Links began in 2021. I would say when we launched when we announced that we are launching this platform, and then quickly we started to have to start onboarding customers, and with the customers we are going to scale in terms of use cases, on terms of data that we are that is going through the platform, and in terms of what we can qualify as service level objectives. We need to have real confidence in the metric that we are displaying our and providing our customers with, and so we need to understand what's happening in our system end to end. And this is where the data observability, as you said, need came. And of course, in the beginning, we started to do our own framework, and this we're going, I think, to speak about it, because it enters very well in the discussion of buy versus build. So in the beginning, we started to do our own framework, and then little by little, we started looking at what's on the market, and this is where we got in touch together, and the story goes on.
Cool. So I guess this is a perfect segue for the first part of the conversation around the built-in house. And I do have a first question for you, Mehdi, and also for you, Wajdi. When it makes sense to build in-house solutions? When companies should consider the built-in house before exploring anything on the market or any third-party software?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think that, when you have companies like Carrefour and other, I would say, big firms who have a deeply rooted IT culture, a strong IT culture, the first reflex for this kind of solution is that we need to build them internally first. So the idea behind is, I would say, we have the expertise, we have the team, we have the organization that allows us to try and create a solution on our own, see how it works, and then learn from that experience. And once we have tried it ourselves and we understand what we need, then we look at buying a solution on the shelf. So this I would say is a philosophy that we find in most of the big firms. Then if we take a look at the I would say the data aspect, something that's really important is that we need also to build conviction, meaning that when we start building data pipelines, we need to run it end to end to see that, yeah, we need to introduce some checks. Then we need to build our monitoring and alerting dashboards. And then we see that, yeah, but actually we need more than this. We need to scale. And we need to also to, I would say, to introduce more checks at every step. So this is what I call the process of building conviction. And when we try it on our own, when we build the thing on our own, this is where we identify that at a certain level, we'll probably rather prefer to switch to a solution that's on the shelf. So this is, I would say, also another important aspect is the aspect of building conviction.
Yeah, super clear. Then maybe, Wajdi, for you in the past, in your past experience, you have built many in-house solutions in different companies. Could you share with us, based on that, in your vision, when it's relevant to build in-house as well?
Yeah, sure. I think I can think of 2 points here. The first one is that in some environments, you have really a strong need to build something tailor-made, whether it's a technical environment where you have some legacy tools or technical environments that you don't have the ease of deployment and maintenance and operating as the cloud environments we have nowadays. And also some environments where teams are complex, the buying is complex, then you probably would rather go with building something. This is conditioned on having the budget and the timeline to do it. But those are many cases I've seen in the past where you're pretty good with going and build conviction also, and then start building and operating a tool. I've seen this in so many industries, banks, industries where you still use mainframe, for instance, or some specific databases or ERPs, etc. So those are really challenging, and most of the vendors won't support them and won't even try to support them. So that's the first point. The second point is mostly related to the company strategy. In some industries and enterprises, and this point I think is wider than the data observability, but in some enterprises, you don't need or you don't want to go build something you want to go build in-house because you need to keep a competitive edge. That's your IP. That's what your basically core business is. So it doesn't make sense to go buy a tool, but it makes sense to invest money and time on building teams and building your own tool, building your own vision. This will help you keep a competitive edge and also prevent you from relying on external vendors for strategic reasons. One thing I will probably, for instance, if you are selling, if you are a database, then probably you won't go buy a database to do your own analytics, but probably use your tool or use something that you built in-house. So that's the two major points I've seen in my experience. But that, I think we'll touch down on this. That's very conditioned on the timeline, the budget, and all the constraints airwise that the enterprise have.
And I think this is a perfect transition to one of the main questions that we hear from the market when thinking about building in where building in-house could be the good approach. What are the main considerations we should be thinking about to make sure we are doing it in the right way? Maybe Mehdi, you can start with giving us in sharing more on the experience you had when you were building in-house to build the conviction.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say I would really reflect on our journey at Carrefour Links. So what happened is that from the beginning, we start to put like some checks on our different data pipelines that are running regularly on a daily or hourly basis. And then these checks will have like some results that will be displayed and consolidated within a dashboard, very simple dashboard that everyone can consult. And then little by little, we started to implement some alerts with emailing, and we identified also the different stakeholders that need to be, I would say, that need to be alerted. And then we put in place what we call the responsibility chain. So in terms of when I receive an alert, what should I do? So all of this is, I would say, came um, in a gradual manner. And at a certain level, we had a framework that was built 100% internally, and that works for the stage, the phase that we had. I would say like few months of maturity and data products that are one or two data products that are in production with customers on them. So these are, I would say, the things that we thought about and we did when building in-house. Then at a certain time came the discussion that we started to see that maintaining and enhancing this framework took us a lot of effort. And we could not cope with the scale up of use cases and the new data that were flowing in the platform, and also the expansion within the organization. And so this is where we started to have this, I would say, strategical discussion that is whether we continue on investing on our in-house framework, or we start looking at, I would say, a solution that we can deploy and then I would say generalize or deploy on our different products.
Makes sense. And maybe could you maybe touch down on what kind of signal were you tracking to say, okay, now this is the time to challenge the current setting, and this is the time where we need to potentially think differently?
Indeed. So actually work in what we call PI planning. So each quarter we meet together and discuss about what will come in the next quarter. And I do remember that in a particular quarter, we had like the engineering teams who were working on this data checks and alerting platform. Actually, they started saying, yeah, but before doing some business stuff and delivering like new insights within our data products, we need to spend quite significant time and effort on adding new features to our data observability framework, internal one. Okay. And then because we had new data like coming from the supply chain, if I remember well, yeah, we need to do a lot of development stuff in order to make sure that we can then define these new checks within our existing framework. So these are like flags, because when you see this, and you know that data engineering resources are very precious, like you need to manage them in a, I would say, in the most optimal and lean way. When you see this, you start to wonder. Actually, as a tech manager, the least thing you would like to bother about is when your team, like they come and tell you, yeah, we don't have the right tooling to deliver our business, what the business waits from us. So this is where you say, yeah, so here I need to really think about how to introduce in the ecosystem, how to make the ecosystem, I would say, scale with our ambition and go and cope with all these new data, the data products and data use cases that we are tackling. So I would say this is for me the most important flag that you see.
Super clear. What about you, Wajdi? Did you have any specific consideration, any specific flag when in the past experiences you had, you implemented in-house solutions?
Yeah. So first one I think of is sometimes when you have an urgent pain to resolve and you have time clicking, your stakeholders asking for a solution, you can find it really hard to try to convince them to build something when there is a tool that is catered to your need already available, especially if it's something that won't deviate you from your core business. You will, as Mehdi said, use your resources and team more efficiently, building something that the business care about. So you will really lose this type of battle, trying to persuade your stakeholders to get the budget and the funding to go build something. It's needless to say how hard it is to hire, create a team, have the right skills, and also build the vision, a product, operate it, support it, and maintain it. So it's not even something that you should consider. So that's the first point. The second point is if you look at it as an ROI equation, sometimes even though if you have the time, the budget, and the green light from your stakeholders and the management, you would be better by something literally because it's you will have your return on investment faster and you can use that budget for different things. It is really important to flag here that if you buy a software, you're buying the current version of the software, but you're also buying all the innovation, the knowledge that the software, the vendor will be gathering from the other partners. So that you're buying a whole ecosystem, and the proof or the warranty that your investment will be effective for a longer period, and you won't have all the headache of worrying about the support, the compliance, the security, all that stuff. So yeah, sometimes ROI you should buy and not build.
Yeah, maybe just to Wissem, if I may, to interact also with
Wajdi.
I think what he just said now is really, I would say, insightful. And we had this within Carrefour Links actually. So within, I would say, our during the phase where we develop internal data observability or data quality solutions, we started having multiple approaches within our ecosystem. And so at a certain time, as a tech leader, you start wondering. So here I have, for sure, I have the need, clearly. I need to build and visualize the data pipelines. I need to make sure that my data is flowing correctly. And then you start saying that, yeah, but the one team is doing it this way, the other team is doing it this way. So the fact that you start also adopting a tool is an approach, is a step towards homogenization within your ecosystem, federation of the different, I would say, stakeholders, whether they are internally your data engineering, data teams, or also the people who consult your dashboards and who also within the organization who are interested to know the state of the of the data. And then what's interesting, I'd say, a key school effect is that when adopting a tool, you also introduce within your organization and within your engineering teams, I would say, approaches and learnings from the tool itself. Because, for instance, as we work with Sifflet, you had like some features and you had like some experience with other customers. And so maybe some of the stuff we didn't encounter it before. So when we deployed it in our internally, this gives us like some ideas, some insights, some things that we didn't think about when doing our own internal data quality approach. So this is also, I would say, important as well to highlight.
So maybe, Mehdi, is there any specific feature or product capability that you didn't think about in the beginning and that was very handy when you saw that was available in the product?
Yeah. There is one particular example I can think of since I would say when we started deploying Sifflet in our first use cases, we mostly focused on the data checks, introducing data checks within our data sets and putting the alerts on the right, I would say, the right plugin with our internal ticketing system and so on. So this is where we focused on. But then I do remember at a certain point we had some discussions internally about do you have the correct documentation of a particular metrics? From where does it come from? And so yeah, each one of us like, look, yeah, but we this is not documented actually. But then we remember that we had a feature within Sifflet where you have the lineage. So we looked at the tool directly within the GUI, and this is where we easily identified actually this metrics comes from this and this and this data, and here are the different transformations step. Yeah, exactly. So this is the screen actually. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So maybe to recap on like the experience you had. So you started building an in-house framework to build conviction, to make sure we have the expertise to understand exactly the needs. What kind of advice you want to share today for organizations who are having similar approaches to keep that optionality and keep that flexibility in the sense that in the future, if we change our mind the same way we had at Carrefour Links, we can do it in an easy manner.
Yeah, I think this is a very important question, and something that as a tech leader you always need to keep this in mind, to be able to not lock yourself on a particular setup. And for this, from the beginning, when you design your system with your engineering architecture, all the teams, you need to make sure that you have a data stack, a tech stack, that where you can easily plug and play stuff if you need. So don't go too much into tailored solutions where you are locked and you can no longer have the flexibility to say, yeah, but I need now, for instance, a new component to add to my stack, to my ecosystem. And actually, it's impossible for me. I cannot integrate it in an easy way. So this is something that you need to always keep in mind when choosing the components of your stack. And particularly, this is particularly true in the data ecosystem, because the data ecosystem is so fragmented and you have multiple components at each level of your data, I would say, transformation and storage and display and so on. So always be careful about the components that you introduce. And you see the tech guys, and we are tech guys, like a lot of us want to try new stuff and new tools and the latest data transformation framework and so on. But be careful about really fragmenting your stack. This is important. So this is the first thing to keep in mind, I would say, and this allows you to have the flexibility. Probably you won't need it. Probably you will need it. So it depends on the how your project goes on. But the flexibility at a particular stage to say, yeah. So we tried with this data framework internally, but now we need to step up, and so we can easily plug and play a solution that we can find on the shelf. So I think this is something that we need always to keep in mind when as a tech leader. Yeah.
Super clear. And this is a perfect segue to the second part of the discussion. So you came at a place where you thought that it's more relevant to rely on a third-party solution. What were the main benefits you were looking for going to another third-party solution and bringing this kind of software on top of what you have built internally?
Yeah, for sure, the need we had was a scale-up need. This is a scale-up need in terms of data quality checks configuration implementation. We needed like to implement these in a very easy way and a lot more like deploy them in production. I would say instantly and see the be able to try to run the queries and see the results and see the alerts. And so we need to have a tool that makes this really in an easy way for us. So this is the first thing. And then the second thing we were looking on is to have a tool that's not only designed for data guys, meaning the tech teams, where also our marketing teams, our business teams can log in the tool and see also the results and can have a clear view, browse on the different checks, data sets, and so on. You can imagine that if we do like the implemented check on, I would say, an internal, the internal console we have of our CSP, for instance, or like some internal dashboards, yeah, this is not very convenient for our business to come and like log in and see the different results. So this is also something that we are looking at.
So can you maybe walk us through the process from the moment where you started thinking about going with an external vendor, how you went through defining the requirements, how you went through the whole process from the beginning to the end?
Yeah, definitely. So what we did is that we identified a list of features that I would say that reflected our needs and what we are waiting for, and then we did a comparison of the different solutions we find on the market, and we got in touch, I think, with maybe 10 solution or something like this. We did I would say calls, and we had like some evaluation sheets and so on, and then I think we shortlisted a couple of providers with whom we did the what we call some sort of trial. So we identified a data set, particular data set we had, and also some use cases that we had internally implemented within our data observability framework, the internal one. And so I think this is also with something we did together with the Sifflet. So we did this, I would say, this trial phase where we plug and play the solution. We try to, I would say, export and then to re-implement the checks we had internally within Sifflet and see how things work. And of course, we identified also some gaps, some integration aspects, and so on, and worked on this together. And so this is how we did the evaluation phase to see, yeah. So we built conviction that actually with Sifflet we can work together and can answer a question, and we can scale up in, I would say, confident way and go through the next phase for Carrefour links. And of course, in parallel, you have all the procurement aspect and the I would say the negotiation with our department, like who is responsible for this kind of stuff. And maybe a last thing I would stress on, and this is something that I would say, if we want, when we introduce a new tool within our ecosystem, if you want it to succeed, this is a transformation project. So we need to accompany it. We need to onboard the users, internal users. We need to communicate about it, and we need like to make to define sessions together, and to everyone who's will be using the tool should have documentation how to use it, and this is something that we do regularly, and this is something that we set up also together Wissem with Sifflet, when like each month we do regular sessions to onboard new user on it, so that to make sure that it it's aligned with our needs, it answers our needs, and also for you to have the feedback, because we had like a lot of feedback on some features that needs to be improved or new needs and so on. And this relationship is also very important to, and we see, I see it personally, I see the tool evolve monthly on a regular basis, and going in the direction that we are building together. So this is really cool, actually, for me.
Awesome, great to hear that. So basically, like, if I recap what you were saying, is like super important to think about it as a transformation project and involve all the stakeholders. Make sure that through the testing phase, it's in line with expectations, and then to give some importance as well to the onboarding of all the internal stakeholders, and also on the long run, how things should be moving. Any specific advice you want to share here on how to make sure we are getting the best ROI of the initiative?
My opinion on this is that it's more a prerequisite that I would suggest. You need to, and particularly in cloud environments. So this is really important, since all the data quality checks and all the things that you're going to implement are going to run against your data warehouse and data infrastructure. And as we know, like whether you have slots, whether you have like on demand, and you pay on the as you go, etc. So it depends on your model. But in all cases, you need to be really clear and master how I would say your financial and FinOps in cloud FinOps. So this is really important, and you need to be really I'd say things are tidy things on it. And it's easy, like with Sifflet, to identify with the service account how much it consumes, and to have the proper line on it. But these kind of stuff, they need to be prepared to ensure a successful integration, and to make sure that you can compute and have the right ROE, return on investment, after.
Super clear. Maybe Wajdi, from your perspective, when you in your past roles, when you were also considering third-party software, what were the approach you were taking as a leader in the technology space, and what kind of approach we were applying there?
Yeah, so whenever you consider buying a tool, I think you need to check the technical barriers. If the tool today supports your use case, answer your needs, but also it's important to think a few steps ahead and try to validate that the product or the tool that you're buying will go in the same direction as your needs will go, whether in terms of scalability, security, onboarding more people, usability. Sometimes you buy a tool that you plan to interact with through the UI, but at some point, with the tool being more adapted, you need to interact with it programmatically. So you need to pay a particular attention on how this tool will be used now in the midterm, and also is this tool going to be around for a while. So this is really important. And this is one of the criteria that you should consider when you're shortlisting your vendors or your tools to try. And then another thing important that goes hand in hand with this aspect of the tool going to the right direction is to validate the fact that you have a good relationship with the vendor. So probably at that point, you will stop calling it a vendor or a buyer seller, but more a partnership relationship where you are sure to be heard. You have your opinion to influence the product. You can build also the long-term vision with your partner. So this is really important, because you don't want to invest in something that will be void in a few months or quarters. I really stress this topic because it is really a strategic decision to buy a tool from a vendor or a partnership. So that's the second important point. And the third one, in my opinion, is if you want this tool or this initiative to be successful, I think Mehdi touched down on this. You need to set up your team and environment for success. Onboarding a tool, to put it short, is like onboarding new people to your team. And we know all as managers, we really need to pay attention to onboarding a new hire, the first impression. This is also applicable for tools, in my opinion. So basically, you need to make sure that you have the right people that will have the tool in hand. You give these people the proper documentation, workshops, all the important stuff, so that they can get the most out of the product. And also, you need to define with them and with your partner what you want to measure to decide whether this tool is bringing value, successful or not. And I think if you nail down this topic, then you have no problem getting the value that you planned from the tool, onboarding people, or building a long-term vision with your partnership.
Here, thanks, Wajdi. I think now we can move to the Q&A. We do have a couple of questions already, and we can start with the first one. And this is one mainly for you, Mehdi. And the question is, how can we quantify the financial investment when we go with an in-house approach?
Yeah. So actually, to let's say. Let's take it like from the in a very practical and pragmatic way. Saying that we're going to have an in-house approach means that this is kind of a project, okay, where we have like we're going to build a solution. So to build a solution, you need to have a team, dedicated team within it. So whether a full-time working team or a team that works on already works on a data initiative, data, and in parallel will invest time to work on this, I would say, in-house solution. And then, so in terms of resources, so going to have resources, and then you need to scope. So what am I going to do within this initiative? So I can have like a kind of a MVP approach, where it's only some checks I put here, and then I will draw a dashboard and then see how and put some alerts, and then check this dashboard regularly on a daily basis. For instance, put someone who can see it, or or like do some mailing and so on. And then you need to size this. So depending on the skills you have, depending on the I would say the availability of the resources you have, if they are already here or no. I would say that from our side, based on my experience, this can turn to be a full-time job for a small team, small engineering teams already. Like to have your MVP, you need to have like people who are dedicated to this on a very regular basis, and data engineers and probably data analysts as well. And then you need to have someone who animate the team. So this can very quickly become, I would say, costly, but it depends, as I said, on the organization. But always take it as a project. This is a build project.
Clear. I do have a second question from the audience, and the second question is, how did you manage to onboard business teams into data observability when we switch to a third-party solution?
Yeah, actually, this makes it more easy, I would say. When we switch to a third-party solution, so this kind of takes it out of the tech sphere and I would say, the engineering sphere, because you have a dedicated portal. This portal, you log in to it, and then you have the access to the platform, Sifflet, and you can see within it your data sets, your domains, and the results of the checks and if there are like ongoing issues and ticks and so on. So the fact that you take it out of, I would say, your internal CSP console or the internal dashboard and so on. So this makes it easier for people who are internal to your engineering teams who don't know anything about your data warehouse or your data pipelines to just check the data and check assess its quality and its metrics. But then, of course, you need to put in place, I would say, what we spoke about earlier, the onboarding in terms of ramp up, in terms of, I would say, sessions, where hands-on session, where you have guides and you guide step by step the people on to use the platform. And then to maintain, I would say, to maintain this effervescence that you're creating around the platform, you need to, for instance, what we do is that internally we do regular checks. Like, are you okay? Are you satisfied with the platform? How does it work? Do you have any feedback? Also, we have channel together where people can, I would say, with some people also on your side, and give them feedbacks when they use the tool and they, for instance, face issues or have questions and so on. So all of this is important to maintain this level, I would say, of usage and of adhesion to the platform.
Thanks, Mehdi. Since we are getting to the end of the session, we can take one last question from the audience. And the one we have is in line and can be considered as a follow-up for the previous one, which is around accountability. How do we manage accountability when we do have many data stakeholders and many business teams interacting with data observability?
Yeah. I would say this is a very interesting question, because my conviction today is that the tool adoption, when you adopt a tool such as Sifflet, for instance, within your data stack, it doesn't come necessarily with, I would say, an organization that you need to put in place. No, you need to set up the right organization for the tool to be rightly adopted. You see, this is I would say really important. Else, if you just introduce a tool and you think that with this tool everything is going to be fine, my data quality is going to skyrocket, and I won't have any longer problem within data, and so this won't work. Actually, this probably won't happen. Okay? So you need to think about your data organization and the stakeholders and the people who you'd like to alert, and when they receive the alert, how they're going to respond to it, and who is going to do the right analysis and then the action to correct the issue and so on. All of this needs to be, in my opinion, thought about independently of the tool. And then when you deploy something like Sifflet, for instance, this will accelerate and make all the process go on in a much more, I would say, swift and easy way and fluid way, you see? So, but think about it. I would say the organization that you're going to put about and the accountability, whether you use you have in-house solution, whether you have Sifflet, whether you have any other tool, you need to think about it in, I would say, quite tool or tech agnostic way.
Thanks, Mehdi. Very insightful. Thanks a lot for your time and for this insightful conversation. Thanks, Mehdi. Thanks, Wajdi. Thanks for the audience. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out. If you want to learn more, if you want to have more insights on the built-in house solutions, and like the built-in house approach and the buy from third-party vendors, feel free to reach out anytime, and we are happy to take your questions and answer them. Thanks, everyone, and I wish you a good day for our audience in the US and a good end of day for our audience in Europe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.